We are back here at KeystoneandMore after a very long, lengthy month off. Both Nick and I had school. A lot of stuff has happened in the world of sports. Last time we made a video, Nick and we did a MLB playoff preview. Now they crowned the Washington Nationals as World Series champions. I don't even know what week it was in the NFL, but it's now week 13. Playoff contentions are on the line. Every game matters, Nick. We can start off. Maybe we can talk about a little bit of the MLB to this for like 5 minutes. Just talking about your experience with the World Series and the Washington Nationals winning.
I was kind of shocked that the Nationals won because I was kind of assuming they were going to do their usual chokes, and they did not. So it was a very shocking revelation that they didn't do that. I don't know if obviously the Astros, when they won their first World Series, they were caught in the whole cheating scandal, and this time when you look at the splits from the batting averages on the home and the away, you would have thought you would be shocked that the Astros didn't win a single home game, because when you look at the splits, their batting averages at home were way better than they were on the road. So you're really, kind of shocked that the 3 games they won were all in D.C. and the 4 games they lost were all at Minute Maid Park in Houston. But Juan Soto really came out and just had himself a hell of a postseason. Same with Steven Strasburg and Anthony Rendon. Both of those men just earned themselves lots of money in free agency. We'll see if they remain in D.C. or if they go somewhere else. I think Strasburg most likely will stay in D.C. I could definitely see Rendon walking, though. But we'll see about that. Uh, for Houston, Justin Verlander once again did not have greatest postseason compared to his regular season. Uh, Garrett Cole was amazing as per usual. Again, has earned himself lots of money this upcoming offseason. Probably goes to Anaheim, but he could go to the Bronx, I think. And Zach Rank. I mean, the great pitching matchups that we were expecting, Houston's pitching just didn't hold up at the end of the day.
I think when we look, I'm going to start off with the Astros. This is what I've seen around town here since I do live in Houston now. I think we were excited when Zach Greinke came to Houston because I don't know about everyone else around, but I know in Houston everyone thought there'd be a 3-game sweep against the Tampa Bay Rays, and we didn't see that. I got to Game 5, and we didn't see Verlander pitch well against the Tampa Bay Rays. We didn't see him pitch well against the New York Yankees. And we also didn't see Zach Greinke pitch well against the Tampa Bay Rays or the New York Yankees. They both didn't pitch well. I would say the only reason why they made past both of those teams was because of Garrett Cole. And you need, and I think the one thing that they didn't do so well is they consistently went off of 3 pitchers. They consistently went off Cole, Greinke, Verlander. They didn't use their 4th pitcher as much. They didn't really use Wade Meyer. They didn't really use Sanchez, and I think that hurt them down in the long run. I think their bullpen was not good at all. I think they made very bad decisions with their bullpen. Um, when it came to the World Series, I think they stalled. They got a hot start, but they couldn't score more runs after the first 3 innings. They were gone by the 4th, 5th, 6th inning, and I think the Nationals really took ahead of that. And we saw the pitching, like I said, they just wasn't there. Except maybe Garrett Cole, he was there for the most part. But giving up 1 run is always lethal when it comes to postseason play. On the flip side, though, of Washington Nationals, I think there were sparks of greatness. I think the reason why they won was they were so confident. They didn't go into this. They went into some pretty tough situations. They were down by I think 2 runs in the wild card game with Josh Hader on the mound. They were confident enough. They hit him. Then they had to play Washington. They had to play L.A. They faced good pitchers, Rich Hill and Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler. They were confident. They won all that. And then they had to go to and then they had to play St. Louis, which was another sweep, which they faced good pitchers in Wainwright and all these different pitchers, and they were confident. And then I think that confidence level, especially in Juan Soto, really carried them into the postseason and were able to. Because if you look at stat by stat, I think Houston's I think the more talented team in my opinion. But it didn't show. I think the confidence level really carried them into the World Series and led them to a World Series title. It'll be very interesting to see where Strasburg, I think he's going to stay. Rendon, I don't think he will stay. And I think free agency is going to be big. The Pirates did get their new manager. They finally got the bench coach for the Twins, which will be another legacy of very failure year, I would be assuming, especially if Starling Marte goes to the Mets, which he's thinking about going. But back what you see on the screen, we'll talk about football because a crap ton has changed, Nick, in the NFL. Um, we can. I don't even know where to start with this. Let's start in the AFC. I thought the AFC would be more of. Well, we knew the AFC would be mostly top heavy, but I didn't think it would be this top heavy with New England and Baltimore.
Yeah, I was very surprised with Baltimore. Obviously, I don't think anybody expected Baltimore to be this good. They're going to be might end up being the one seed in the AFC and having home field. Um, having home field in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, I don't know if Baltimore can truly make a run. I know Baltimore's the hottest team in the league, and they're like unstoppable right now. And everybody thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl. Even their own players are like, we'll play whoever we got to play in the Super Bowl. We're excited. I don't know if they can beat the Patriots twice in the same season because that's a very hard thing to do. The reason the Ravens won in the first game in Baltimore was because of their run game. And the reason they won because of their run game is because New England had no idea what to do. This is the first time they had seen Lamar Jackson. He is a rookie quarterback. So, that's what they were expecting is they weren't, they didn't know what to expect from him. Because even if you look at tape, Lamar Jackson is the first of a kind. There's never been anybody like this. You can say he's like Michael Vick, but guess what? He's a better passer than Michael Vick, so he's not really Michael Vick. He's a bit different than that. So he is a first in a type of guy. So this was like New England now has tape to look at. They have that Sunday night football game to look at now. And they'll be looking at that tape very, very you know, I don't really know how to. They'll be looking at it a lot, though. They'll be looking at it very closely, and I think New England will most likely beat Baltimore in a rematch. If it's in Baltimore again, I think that definitely helps the Ravens. But I don't know. I think it's tough for the Pats to lose to the same team twice in the same season. But Baltimore does look really good. Lamar Jackson looks obviously amazing. New England, New England just doesn't have any offense, which is going to become a serious. Like they have Tom Brady, obviously, but they have no receivers, no running backs. Like that could become a serious problem for them because they don't really have any offense. Their defense is locked down, shut down, but um, so that could end up working out. But I don't know. I feel like the offense wins games, defense wins championships thing is not very it's not the best term in the modern day NFL when you're seeing a more offensively styled game. And I think the Patriots, I come back to bite the Patriots because there are some teams like the Ravens who can put up 50 in a game, and then you have teams like the Patriots that are going to struggle to put up 20. So,
I think the Ravens, their biggest test is going to be this week, actually. I don't know why this is a 1 o'clock game. 49ers are coming to Baltimore. The 10-1 49ers, number one seed in the NFC. I think we all knew Lamar Jackson was going to be good. I don't think I
uh,
But I don't think we would have said he would have been this good this quick. I didn't. I would say he would take maybe 2 to 3 years to get acclimatable in the NFL, and then he would start to heat up. But I don't think he'd be good in his second year because we all know second year is always your worst year. Sophomore slump, we see it in college, we see it in the NFL.
but
So
I don't think anybody would have predicted he would have ever been this good. Like,
yeah.
no one thought Lamar Jackson was going to be as good as he is now. He is the MVP of the league. For the first 7 weeks, I thought it
Hmm.
was going to be Russell Wilson, but Lamar Jackson has run away with the crown, and I don't think anybody has the right to say they thought this was what's going to happen because
Yeah,
there's
no,
no
I'd
way
agree with
anybody
that too.
predicted.
And we look at the upcoming Ravens schedule. They have they have the 49ers, obviously, which will be a good game. Then they go to the Bills. With the Bills, they're the type of team for me. But we'll get into this later. But they're the type of team that they are a shower. They have a good defense, but their offense is not as good. They're like the New England Patriots. I don't buy them as being a good Super Bowl team or a playoff
They're not
contending
a
team.
Super Bowl team, but
They're not.
that's a nice matchup for the Ravens. A nice
Yes.
defensive Buffalo team that the most points they've allowed this season. Well, okay, technically the most points they've allowed this season is 31, but besides that 31, the highest they've allowed is 16. So this is a very um, defensive Buffalo Bills team.
And then they got to go to the Browns, which who they lost to in like week three.
They gotta play the Jets first.
They got to play the Jets, yeah. And then they got to play then they got to play the Browns, which who they lost to. And then they got to play the Steelers. So it's going to be a pretty easy schedule, walk-in schedule for the Ravens. I think that if most, they'd lose maybe one game, and that'd be probably maybe to San Francisco, as opposed to New England. And they have a pretty easy schedule. They got to you got to play the Texans, then you got to play the Chiefs. So that's a home game, so that's not really. I'm not worried about that. Then you got the Bengals, then you got the Bills, and then you got the Dolphins. So those are three games. Maybe they lose one of those games, but at most they. I mean, and if they lose one of these games, that means Baltimore will have. Assuming Baltimore wins out, that means then Baltimore get the 1 seed, which would be very interesting because if New England gets the 1 seed, I would guarantee them they're going to the Super Bowl. It's very tough to win in New England. I think anyone knows that, especially come playoff atmosphere. I think the last team that beat New England in the playoffs was the Ravens. And like you said, yeah, the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is going to. The defense has stepped up. I think that's the big thing that's helped the Ravens. I think that we can all talk about their offense, but I think their pass rush has gotten a lot better. They've sit back. They mix. They don't go one specific. They don't man a lot. They don't go zone a lot. They mix it up, which changes a lot of offensive looks. Comes to the Patriots, though, I think we can talk all day about how good their defense is. I'm worried about the offense, like you said, Nick. That for the past 3 weeks, they haven't scored over 21 points, and I just keep on referring back to the Steelers game against the Browns. If the Steelers have a tier 1 defense, what happens when your defense has a bad game? What's your offense gonna do? So I'm just waiting for that New England defense to have one bad game to see how if Tom Brady can bail out the team, and they easily could. Let's hope it's not against the Chiefs. Even though Patty Mahomes hasn't been as good as late, just because he's been injured with his knee, and I don't even know if he'll be playing, because I know he's back. NFC though, this is more of a tough team because the top, maybe you could say top 6, top 5, are very good. San Francisco, New Orleans, Green Bay, Seattle, and then maybe Minnesota, but I wouldn't give it to them. Those 4 teams are going to be a very solid pick to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So the NFC is the conference that I follow a lot more closely due to one living in the NFC city in Philadelphia. And probably my favorite NFL team would be the Green Bay Packers, an NFC team. So I follow the NFC a lot more closely, local media, my own preferences. So I know the NFC a lot more. And I'm going to be honest with you, I thought San Francisco was a joke. I was like, San Francisco, this team is nothing. They are just a team that got an easy schedule. They're not that good. They're gonna go 13-3 and lose in the divisional round. Then I watched Sunday Night Football, and I watched this team win 37-8 versus the Green Bay Packers, and I saw the San Francisco 49ers dominate on both sides of the ball against one of the greatest quarterbacks of his generation and of all time, a top 15 quarterback of all time in Aaron Rodgers, and a top 15 defense in the league in this Green Bay Packers defense. It's a top half defense, not a great defense, but it's like a solid defense, and the Niners absolutely dominated. And the Niners are going to play the Saints in, I believe, 2 weeks, and that is going to be a great game because the New Orleans Saints, who we just saw last night versus the Atlanta Falcons, I don't really know with the Saints. I feel like the Saints always start off the year like 9-2, and then they win like 2 or 3 games, and they go like 2-5 to end the season or something like that, and they sneak in the playoffs. They get in the playoffs because of their hot start. This is a team that always has hot starts, and then is not great in November and December and January. So I don't know how to feel about the Saints, but I think really San Francisco is the team to beat in the NFC. I think New Orleans is cooling down. I think Green Bay is cooling down. I think Seattle's another good team. I think Seattle and San Fran, both teams out west, are the teams to beat in the NFC.
I agree with that. I think a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people around my friends, and they've been like, "Oh, they're the best team in the West," and I'm like, they didn't have Kittle when they played Seattle. I think the number one test will be when San Francisco Week 17 goes to Seattle. I think that will be their biggest test because San Francisco didn't have their best players when they played Seattle. Obviously, that's why they got crushed. I think
they might get crushed. It was an overtime game.
It was a close game, but I didn't win. Dallas is going to be a joke. Dallas is going to win their division just because the NFC East sucks. Minnesota is, again, in my opinion, just like Buffalo. They're good, but I don't think they're going to go far. They do got to go to Green Bay, which is going to be very, very hard wild card weekend, especially with the cold, and they can never win in Green Bay. The Saints and the 49ers, again, like you said, 49ers are the team to beat. The Saints, they have cooled down. They escaped yesterday against Atlanta. Um, couldn't recover two onside kicks, which was very surprising in my opinion. Um, and then in the hunt we have the. We're gonna talk about this quickly. We have it in the hunt. We have Philadelphia, Chicago, and then New York. I think those are the three most relevant teams. Do you see any of those teams making the playoffs?
So, out of Philadelphia, Chicago, and Los Angeles, the team with the highest chance, in my opinion, is Philadelphia. Okay, so here's why the other two I don't think have any shot really at all. Chicago has no quarterback. Their defense is pretty much quitting on the team because their offense is terrible. So even if the defense allows 10 points, they might lose. So the defense is really just given up on this team. Allowed 20 points to a walk-on quarterback for the whatever you want to call him, not a good quarterback for the Detroit Lions. So Chicago Bears at the moment are 6-6. I think they're going to lose at home versus Dallas. I think they're going to lose in Green Bay. I mean, honestly, I would not be surprised if the Bears lost out with a very tough schedule down the stretch here, with a 6-6 Dallas team, an 8-3 Green Bay team, a 7-4 Kansas City team, and an 8-3 Minnesota team. I would not be surprised at all if the Chicago Bears ended the season 6-10. More likely, they end the season 7-9 if they win one of those games. But I do not think the Bears are a playoff team. The Rams, I also do not believe make the playoffs. At the moment, the Rams are 6-5. So let's say they beat the Cardinals. Now they're 7-5. They lose to the Seahawks. That puts them at 7-6. They lose in Dallas. That makes them 7-7. They lose in San Fran. That makes them 7-8. And then they beat the Cardinals. They go 8-8. 8-8 is not a playoff team in the NFC. Now Philadelphia has the easiest schedule out of pretty much. I think they have probably the easiest schedule in the rest of in the whole league.
Who, Green Bay?
Philadelphia. What?
Who did you say has the easiest? Green Bay?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay.
Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is the easiest schedule in the league at the moment. They go to Miami on Sunday. They're a 10-point favorite. They should easily win that. Should easily cover. They go 6-6. Then the Giants come to Philadelphia. They'll be 7-6 after that one. They go down to DC. Now you're 8-6. Now you're 8-6 with a big game versus the Dallas Cowboys in Philadelphia. NFC East on the line. Honestly, the NFC East shouldn't get a playoff spot this year. The NFC East is miserable, a miserable conference, a miserable division. And I do think at home, the Cowboys have struggled against plus 500 teams. And I think at home, Philadelphia could easily win against the Dallas Cowboys. I think Philadelphia could win out with this schedule. At Miami, home versus the Giants. At the Redskins, home versus the Cowboys. At the Giants. I think the Philadelphia Eagles could end the season at 10-6. And 10-6 with the NFC East, they would make the playoffs. Dallas would miss the playoffs. And Philadelphia would be your NFC East champion. So yeah, I think Philadelphia is the best chance out of any of these teams to make it. But Philadelphia's not going to get in as a wild card. I think the wild card is locked up with Minnesota and Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia is going to get in as a divisional winner.
Yep. I just want to I want to go over the 49ers schedule because I think they have one of the hardest schedules to end off. They got to go to the Ravens, then they got to go to the Saints. They have an easy win over the Falcons. They have go to home to the Rams, which is not going to be an easy win, but it won't be hard. And then they got to go to Seattle. So they can easily lose three out of those last 5 games, I think, which won't be good, especially.
Honestly, yeah, three. You're right, three. Yeah.
Because they're going to beat the Falcons and they should beat the 49. They should beat the Rams.
Yeah, I was thinking the Rams there for a second. They should beat the Rams.
That's a game on us. That's a Saturday game, which I don't understand why.
I'm a big fan because once the college football season ends, they take Saturdays for their own. I kind of like the Saturday games, honestly. It's nice to have 2 games on a Saturday. I think that's the week that the Bills and the Patriots also play on Saturday. So that should be a good week, honestly, a good Saturday. But yeah, I like those final 2 weeks or the final week 15 and 16 when they do that. But anyway,
AFC playoff picture. We have New England at the 1, Baltimore at the 2, Houston 3, Kansas City 4, Buffalo 5, Pittsburgh 6. I think it's safe to say that New England and Baltimore will get 1 and 2. It could flip by the end of this week 17. And then I think Houston and Kansas City could flip by the end of. I think they could flip 5-6. I think Buffalo is locked up with the 5, and I think the only team that could change will be Pittsburgh. But I don't really. I think Pittsburgh is the best team of the rest of these.
I don't know.
Maybe you can say Pittsburgh already has the tiebreaker over Indianapolis. We saw Oakland what they did last week against the Jets. But I think Pittsburgh is gonna this week is gonna. And then you saw the Browns. Then you saw the Browns that actually might have a chance.
I think that Oakland could sneak into the playoffs. I honestly think this because I don't know. I think we all thought that uh, John Gruden was a crazy man, but he's actually built a very solid team down there in Oakland. And the Steelers don't really have a quarterback at the moment. You can say they have a quarterback, Duck Hodges, and guess what? He's not Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is not even that good. He's an average quarterback. But Duck Hodges is no Derek Carr. And the Steelers got to play the Bills, the Browns, and the Ravens all here at the end of the season. And hey, I know their record doesn't look good, but if you watch the Cardinals, Kyler Murray is dynamic. He's a good quarterback. Again, the record makes them look really bad at 3-7-1. But Arizona's already favored in that game at home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And there is a chance the Cardinals could win that game with the Steelers, again, not having a quarterback. So I just don't know. I mean, the wild card, that last position in the AFC is going to come down to Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Oakland, maybe Tennessee and Indianapolis. The Browns have a very easy end of the season besides the Ravens. They got the Steelers, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Ravens, and the Bengals again. So that's 2 wins versus the Bengals off the bat. So then you're 7-6, and then you got to win. You got to win 2 more. You got to win at least 2 more games. Win 2 out of 3 versus the Steelers, Cardinals, and Ravens to go 9-7. And 9-7 might be good enough in this wild card where I think the Steelers are going to go 9-7, maybe 8-8. I think the Raiders are going to go 9-7 or 8-8. You look at the Colts and Titans. They play each other this weekend, which is a very pivotal game. The Colts have a pretty tough schedule down the stretch. I guess not really. They got to go to They got to go to New Orleans, but besides that, it's pretty easy. But they got to play the Titans and the Saints. That's pretty tough, difficult. But then they also get to play the Bucks, the Panthers, and the Jaguars. So again, they could go 9-7, 8-8, and then you look at the Titans. And they got the Colts, the Raiders, the Texans, the Saints, and the Texans. So I don't see the Titans doing much. I think the Titans are going to go 7-9, 8-8. But I think it's going to really come down to those 4 teams: Oakland, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis.
I think Pittsburgh's they should. In a perfect world, I think Pittsburgh loses 1 game and I'd be against the Ravens. They do got to play the Bills, which would be a very interesting game to see because of the defenses and see how they can play out. And then you got the Browns this week, which will be a very tough game. Luckily, they are at home, so that's good. But the hard thing for me is they have 5 games. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 games left. 3 of those 5 games are on the road. Jets, Ravens, and Cardinals. I think Cardinals will be a better game because it's going to be in Arizona, so that's going to be packed with Steeler fans. I think the Jets could be packed with Steeler fans, and then the Ravens, that's going to be most likely. We did play well against the Ravens. We forced Lamar Jackson to 5 turnovers, even though we did lose. I think what's going to come down to is going to be
That was a different Ravens team, in my opinion. The Ravens became who the Ravens are now during late October. Like 2 or 3 weeks after that Steelers game is when the Ravens became this dynamic team that we're all talking about. The Ravens were not that dynamic team going into Pittsburgh. They just came off a 2-game losing streak versus Cleveland and Kansas City when they were going into Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. I think Pittsburgh if they're going to make it to the playoffs, it's going to be their offense. I think they need Juju back. I think because they don't really have anyone now. They really don't. Maybe Switcher's out.
It's not going to be their offense. They scored 16 points versus Cincinnati. It's going to be their defense.
Their
defense has been pretty good this year.
I think in my opinion, their offense is not anywhere near as good as any offense here. But I think they're a Super Bowl team defense. I think they're 3rd in turnovers. I think 2nd in sacks. Only behind New England. They're 3rd turnovers because I think Green Bay is and then New England. But with the trade with Minkah Fitzpatrick, and let's look at this. See what happened with the Steelers here. Beginning of the end of last season, we got rid of Brown and we got rid of Bell, so we're already screwed there. We go into week 1, we get blown out by the Patriots. All right, cool. That was the Patriots, and then we lose. If that's not enough, we lose Big Ben for the entire year, and then we go 0-3. So now we're all like, okay, we're literally screwed. We're going to most likely lose all of our games. And then we trade 2 first-round picks for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and we've turned this team around. We've turned this defense around. This team has, if if we're gonna win, it's gonna be based off our defense. But come playoff time, I don't. They're gonna be teams that are gonna be well. They're gonna be better than our defense. So it's gonna be our offense to see how well we can, because our defense can only give up so many points. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you on that.
so we're gonna go now, as you see on the screen. We can't really do Thursdays games, but we're gonna go Sundays and predict um, who who's gonna win. We'll start off with the Jets at Cincinnati. I don't know about you, the Jets have something rolling after their win last week over the Raiders. I'm giving them the win.
Yeah, I would give the Jets the win here too. I don't think the Bengals are going to win any games this year, so I would easily go with the the Browns here, or not the Browns.
Tennessee at Indianapolis. I think this is gonna be an even game. I think since Indianapolis is at home, I'm giving them the win.
I think it's going to be a. I mean, you get this is you're in the middle of the AFC South divisional race. This is a crucial game in this division. Sunday's winner could climb into first place if the after that night game for the Texans and the Pats. Jacoby Brissett, he was really good the last time two teams played, but I'm going to go with the Titans here this time.
Cleveland at Pittsburgh. I don't. I think Cleveland has something rolling now. They're getting hot. I think there's nothing you can deny with them. Pittsburgh's home. They have Duck Hodges, so that gives them a new boost, a new atmosphere in the locker room. I heard everyone in the locker room it's a different atmosphere now without Mason Rudolph. And Mason Rudolph is atrocious. I think we all know that. Um, but I think Cleveland has something rolling here. As much as I'd love to say Pittsburgh's going to win this game, I think Cleveland's hot right now, and I'm giving them the win.
I'm going to go with Cleveland. Mike Tomlin. They asked Mike Tomlin in his press conference this week, why did you go with Duck Hodges? He said he hasn't killed us. If that's the bar you're setting for your quarterback, that's not usually a good sign. You got this Browns offense, which has really been getting better and better over the last month with Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, and Nick Chubb. Um, it's hard to imagine Pittsburgh winning unless Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner are back.
James Conner is definitely not going to be back, and I think Juju's going to be a very, very late decision. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's not playing. Um, Next, we have Philadelphia at Miami. That's going to be a steamroll by Philadelphia.
Yeah, it should be a easy win for Philadelphia. This Eagles defense has just been excellent. Hopefully they're hopeful to be getting back Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Aguilar and Brandon Brooks. The offense just needs to be average, and the defense should be able to do the rest. The conditions are going to be beautiful in Miami, obviously, and Eagles are still hanging around in this NFC East race.
Green Bay at the Giants. Green Bay coming off of an embarrassing loss at 49ers. I'm giving Green Bay the win. Giants have not looked like an NFL team this whole season. Danny Dimes came in for Eli Manning. Hasn't really helped. Saquon Barkley hasn't really helped. Wide receiving core, defense, anything for the Giants. And Green Bay, they're not going to lose two games, especially 2-1 against the Giants.
Yeah, the game plan against the 49ers last week was just terrible. The offensive game plan. That shouldn't be a problem this week. You have the Giants pass rush secondary, which are just atrocious. The bigger concern is in my opinion, for Green Bay is the defense. We are letting teams run all over us, and the Giants have Saquon Barkley, a top 5 running back in this league. So sadly, good enough for the Packers. Their offensive line the Giants' offensive line is not great. So hopefully Saquon doesn't run all over the Packers. But I'll go with the Packers win.
Washington at Carolina. I'm giving this one to Carolina because they're at home. Both teams aren't special. Both teams aren't good. I think Carolina's at home. I'm giving them the win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Carolina here. Kyle Allen's been playing pretty bad for Carolina, but you got Christian McCaffrey, who's trying to get to 2,500 yards from scrimmage, and he is going to try to get there. He's going to try to get closer and closer this upcoming week.
Tampa Bay at Jacksonville. Both teams are. I'm giving Tampa Bay the win just because they had a great win last week over the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're going to be enough because Jacksonville is just a no.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. They are 2-3 since the bye, but they've blown 2 fourth quarter leads. The Jaguars have been outscored 101-36 in their last 3 games. They're allowing 230 rushing yards per game. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
San Francisco at Baltimore. This is somehow a 1:00 game. And I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to be, wow. I'm giving Baltimore the win because they're at home. I think this is going to be an even game. Both teams are good. I'm giving Baltimore win at home. We haven't seen San Francisco play a really good team on the road. And this is going to be their first test.
The Ravens are one of the most dominant teams in NFL history. They are the first ever team to beat teams with winning records by over 34 points in back-to-back weeks. They've won their last 5 games by a combined score of 202 to 62, which included New England, Seattle, and Houston. Um, but the Niners defense is a very, very rare defense in this league that I believe can match the Ravens in talent and athleticism. But I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Rams at Arizona. I think Jared Goff has something to prove. Like you said, Arizona has been they're freakishly good. But I think Rams they need a win here, and I'm giving them the win.
I'm actually going to go with Arizona. While Kyler Murray is no Lamar Jackson, the Cardinals can throw a lot of creative plays at the Rams defense, and the Cardinals rushing attack is second in the league, while the Rams are below average in running the football. The fact that the Cardinals offense is better than the Rams this year is one of the, I think, shockers of the entire season. But I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
Um, Chargers at Denver. Both teams. I think the Chargers need a win desperately, and they're going to Denver, who's disappointed throughout. I thought Denver would be a wild card contender. I had a suspicion in the beginning of the season. I thought with Joe Flacco they'd be a wild card, but they just haven't at all. They're not anywhere close. Um, and you look at their remaining schedule. They got the Chargers. They got to go to the Texans. They got to go to the Chiefs. They got the Lions. They got the Raiders. Sorry. So I'm giving the Chargers a win. They need a win desperately to keep them in the playoff hunt. Otherwise, they're gone. They have the Broncos, and then they got the Jaguars, got the Vikings, Raiders, and then at the Chiefs. So think if any time they need a win, it's going to be this one. I'm giving the Chargers the win.
I'm going to go with the Chargers. The Broncos don't even really have a quarterback right now. You got Drew Lock and Brandon Allen. The Chargers have Derwin James back this week. Denver's defense I think, can keep any game close. But the Chargers are probably the most talented 4-17 uh, in a long time, and this is a big coaching mismatch. So I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Oakland at Kansas City. I think I got to get Kansas City again. Coming off the bye, they might be a little bit rusty in the first quarter. Oakland, they had a very good chance of taking. They could have. This would have been such a good game if Oakland would have won against the Jets. They would have been tied for the division, and then this game would ultimately decided their division. But Oakland decided to pull their own Oaklish acts and just look like children against the Jets, making Sam Darnold look great. There's no way you can come back from that. I'm giving Kansas City the win, and they're at home.
I'm going to go with Kansas City. The Raiders are 0-5 against teams with winning records. Their scoring differential is 25th in the league, and their offensive line has struggled these past few weeks. So I'm going to go, and the Chiefs are going to get Tyreek Hill back. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
New England at Houston. I think this is gonna be a lot closer game than I think most people think that will be. This is in my home city, which I'm actually very debating on going. I kind of want to go to this game because this might be my last time seeing Tom Brady play, depending on how long he's gonna uh, play in the NFL. I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. I'm going Houston. I think this is gonna be a day where the defense is not gonna have a good game, and I don't think Tom Brady is gonna be able, especially on the road, to be able to recover and be able to help their team. I'm going Houston with this one.
I'm going to go with New England. Houston is going to put up a lot of points, probably 20, 24, 27, which for New England is a lot. But Tom Brady knows what he has to do against teams like Houston. He knows he's going to have to put up points to win, and he's going to try to put his best offense. Him and Belichick are going to put their best offensive attack together to beat the Texans.
I think I just completely forgot what I was going to say. Something about New England. But Minnesota at Seattle, I think both of us are going to agree. I'm going Seattle on this one. They're home. They're looking hot. Arguably, maybe one of the best, maybe the best team in the West. Depends. Week 17 will decide that. But Seattle has a good run pass option. They have a good defense. And we all thought Seattle would be screwed. I don't think anyone really thought Seattle would be good as they were this year. And I think Minnesota's good. I think they both desperately need wins. But I think Minnesota's on the road. Kirk Cousins, we haven't seen him. He normally doesn't play well prime time, and it's in Seattle, so I'm giving them the win.
I'm going to go with Seattle. Seattle's defense has played its two best games of the year against San Francisco and Philadelphia. The Vikings are a bit tougher because Kirk Cousins is playing better than, surprisingly, is playing better than Carson Wentz and Jimmy G.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a weird Minnesota team. They got these star players, but none of them are like none of them are superstars, but like they just start players that aren't playing up to their potential, but they're still good enough so that they can. The team is 8-3. Cousins winning in prime time in Seattle would probably be one of the strangest things to happen all season. I can't quite picture it, so I'm going to go with Seattle.
Those are the predictions. And then we could talk about yesterday's game for Thanksgiving. Most of these games are closer than we thought, other than the Buffalo Dallas game. Chicago and Detroit came down to the wire. That was horrible coaching by on both teams, in my opinion. I think the Lions, they, especially on the last drive, they had very bad coaching. Again, Buffalo, Dallas, come on, like really, you at home, bad coaching for 2 straight weeks at New England, and then at New England, Jason Garrett, I can't even explain why you would go for a field goal instead of going for it on fourth down, trying to cut in the deficit. Again, on Buffalo, they just steamroll you. New Orleans, Atlanta, New Orleans, well, they came out, and I genuinely think they got lucky. Um, it was a 26-18 game, but it was a lot closer than that, in my opinion, with the two onside kicks. Saints clinched third consecutive NFC South title, which is very not surprising. Um, Bills beating the Cowboys 26-15, and then the Bears beating the Lions 24-20. Nick, is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we head off?
Um, no, not that I can think of. No.
So we have a lot to cover again as MLB winter meetings are going to start because it is December, so free agency deadlines. We have the NFL free agency coming. NHL is still pretty slow. Same with basketball. NCAA football is going to start kicking up. We could probably talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, but for the NHL, we are at the quarter mark of the season. Thanksgiving marks the quarter mark of the season for many teams. Many teams around 25-ish games. Um, and speaking of the NHL, both Pennsylvania teams in the playoffs at the moment. Pittsburgh is the 3 seed in the Metro,
Really?
and Philadelphia holds the second wild card by 5 points. So, and both those teams play today. I will be at the Flyers game. They're home versus the Red Wings, and Pittsburgh is on the road in Columbus, where the fans don't really care with the Blue Jackets because the big game is tomorrow versus Michigan.
That's true. I haven't really paid up attention with hockey just because Crosby's out. Everyone we're an injured team. Um, So I really haven't been paying attention to hockey, but I probably will once football ends. NCAA football. I want to talk a little bit about that. We have going to the rankings. The top four are OSU, LSU, Clemson, UGA. Do you think there's going to be a change in any of
Um,
these?
so it depends. I think if Georgia, so next week we already know that Georgia and LSU are playing next weekend in Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
for the SEC championship game, practically a Georgia home game.
Mm-hmm.
That game means absolutely nothing for LSU. They are going to make the playoffs no matter what. They are in. They do not need this game tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but they do not next week. They do not need this game on December 7th versus the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia needs this game. If Georgia loses this game, then it opens the four spot open. If LSU wins, or if Georgia wins, then Georgia will remain as the 4 seed in the college football playoff. If Georgia loses, then you have 3 teams that could get the 4 seed: Alabama, Utah, and Oklahoma. Alabama needs to beat Auburn. If they do not beat Auburn, they are out. Honestly, if they don't beat Auburn by 10 or more, then they will not make the college football playoff because Alabama has a backup quarterback, and Alabama has not played, besides LSU, who they lost to, by the way, they have not played anybody all year long. So Alabama needs to win by 10 plus in Auburn if they want to make the playoffs. Oklahoma needs to beat Oklahoma State and Baylor, who will both be ranked. Well, it's most likely going to be Baylor in the Big 12 championship game. We don't technically know yet,
Mm-hmm.
but it will most likely be Baylor. And they need to beat Baylor and Oklahoma State if they want to make the playoffs. And they need to win by. I mean, they don't. I think Oklahoma has a good enough schedule where they've beaten Texas and they've beaten Baylor, and I don't think they really played anybody big in non-conference. But if Oklahoma can win both those games, then they should be in. But also Utah, whose only loss is to number 23 ranked USC, still has a chance. But they need Oregon to win against Oregon State, and Utah needs to win both of their games. But honestly, I think Oklahoma. Besides Georgia, because I think Georgia has the best chance at making it at the moment. They need to beat Georgia Tech and LSU. But besides that, I think Oklahoma has the best chance. After that, Utah. And after that, Alabama. I don't think Alabama has a very good chance. Even though I think the committee loves Alabama, I think Alabama doesn't have the resume, especially if they don't beat Auburn by 10 plus, to make the playoff.
Mm-hmm. What about your Penn State?
My Penn State Lions. Oh, this team. So, Penn State. What Penn State's hoping for right now is that Wisconsin beats Minnesota by 14 tomorrow. They destroy Minnesota tomorrow, and then Wisconsin gets their ass kicked by Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, so that Penn State can go to Pasadena. Penn State still has a very good chance of going to Pasadena if they win. The committee loves Penn State. They want Penn State to go to Pasadena. But a few things need to happen for Penn State. First, Penn State needs to kick Rutgers' ass. That should be a very easy task. Rutgers is not a Big Ten team. Rutgers is not a American athletic team. Okay, Rutgers is like a MAC team. It's like playing a non-conference. It's like playing a bye game, pretty much. It's a very easy game. They should win by 40 plus. Then again, they need Wisconsin to beat Minnesota big time in Minnesota, and then they need Wisconsin. They need Wisconsin to go out to Indianapolis and Ohio State to kick their ass, and then Penn State can go to Pasadena. And that I think there's a very good chance that happens because the committee wants Penn State and Pasadena, and they will try to get them to Pasadena in any way possible. So if Wisconsin can win big time tomorrow and then lose big time next week, I think you could very well see Penn State and Pasadena. And if not, I could easily see them in the I think it's the Orange Bowl, which is an ACC team versus a Big Ten team, if I'm not wrong, or ACC team versus like an at-large team or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. Could easily see them get into the Orange Bowl as well, because I think the committee thinks that, for whatever reason, they think Penn State is a very successful and well-run team.
Yeah. I think Ohio. I think we all can admit Ohio State's probably the most well-rounded team in the entire college football. Um, Iowa State. My Iowa State has been an up and down team. I'm very surprised they're ranked right now. They've looked okay. I think Brock Purdy has the sophomore slump, but he's done enough to make them win. I think as of now, I was actually looking at this. If the bowl games were now, I think Iowa State would go down to NRG in Houston to play A&M, which would be a great game for me to go to see. But we have a
There's still one game left, though.
Yeah.
Like Kansas State.
So they're definitely going to make a bowl game. They better not choke against Kansas State, but it's something that I could easily see them doing because that's Iowa State. I apologize to my dad. But quickly before we go, I'll talk about basketball because both Michigan State, Duke has gone down,
And
Kentucky, and it's been one hell of a ride, and we haven't even gotten to conference play yet.
Yeah, this is why I love college basketball. And people keep telling me, "Oh, it's only November." I'm like, there's some good preseason tournaments, and there's just good college basketball to be played at this time of year. Today, UNC, who's probably my favorite, like power, my favorite of the Blue Bloods, my favorite national team, always has been. They won today against Oregon 78-74, so they got third place in the battle for Atlantis. Yeah, okay. But so it's been good competition, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's way too early. We still have one more month until I think tournament. I think conference play starts in December or either January. I don't remember.
Early January.
I think early January. So we got a little more than a month away to go for that. But that'll be very exciting when that starts hitting up because I think Big 12 basketball's looking good. What I've seen, I know ACC basketball's gonna look good. But that's gonna wrap it up now. We're gonna have some more videos because we have a lot of stuff to cover. And luckily, my school's gotten easier. And I can't speak for Nick, but hopefully his school is getting easier now because we got time where a little bit harder because we both got finals coming up. But especially once we get to winter break, sorry, we'll have a lot more time to make videos and a lot more time to cover the news that we need to cover. If you have any ideas for videos, please do let us know, and we will see you next time.